And I have something to say on behalf of the entire Christian community. There may be Christians who hear this and they don't agree with me. That's fine. It doesn't mean that this message applies to them then. But for those who agree, listen here. Just because we do not agree with, and we will not call people, and we don't like calling people. Okay, look, in some situations, this world has made it so touchy. But if someone has become so delusional that they feel like they need to be called he and him, or she or her, when they are the opposite of that, and they've been born the opposite, you calling them that doesn't mean that you believe that, but sometimes their delusion has gone too far because this world is fed into it. But Christians are not going to go as far as delving into it and actually believing that. Me, myself, I'm still having a hard time even calling a woman he or him, or a man she or her. It just seems wrong. It's, for instance, a person with schizophrenia. You don't enable their mental illness and, pretend along with them that their hallucinations and the voices they're hearing are real because you love them. You try to help them, touch base with reality. That's why they have medications and things like that. They don't go to the doctor so the doctors can pretend that everything they're experiencing in their schizophrenia is real because the doctors love them. That's not how you treat a mental illness, and that is not how you treat a delusion. If you are a female and you have a vagina, if you are a male and you have a penis, you have been biologically born as a certain gender. Yes, sin created automatic default in the flesh. That doesn't mean God makes mistakes with what gender you end up born as. Not at all. God doesn't make mistakes. We do. Last time I checked, we stay making mistakes. And I'll tell you now, we are the reason sin exists, not God. When your life is going wrong and everything is falling apart and you get constantly put in situations that you don't rightly deserve, it's not because God doesn't love you that they haven't stopped. It's because this world is run by Satan. And you need to check yourself and see, what is it that you're putting your trust and worship in? What is it that you're putting your actual time into? Is it love for God, or is it that you absolutely hate him and only talk to him when you want something or need something? And you're just using him to your advantage and then accusing him of not loving you at the end of the day. Do you talk to God because you love him, or do you talk to him because you want something from him? There's a difference between a gold digger and someone who loves him. I'll tell you that now. That's called a gold digger in the spirit. People think they can be gold diggers on God, and they get pissed because it doesn't work. You can be gold digger on a human being all day. If they're easy to manipulate, apparently. But you will not be a spiritual gold digger on God. And these people hate it. And they accuse him of everything that's ever gone wrong in their life, and they blame God for it. Because they're too naive and narrow-minded and small-minded to consider that maybe there's more to what they think they have understood already. There's no way in hell I'm going to limit my understanding on what I can understand. As if the truth of things don't go beyond what I can understand. As if it's impossible for me to not be able to understand certain things. I'm not going to base my basis and thesis of understanding of reality on the understanding of man. How many narcissists will sit here and abuse the fuck out of people? Even children. And they believe they're right. Does that make it right? No. Schizophrenia, people with schizophrenia, if they're having a schizophrenic episode and they're having hallucinations and hearing voices and having a mental breakdown, just because they're feeling those things and feeling like what they're hallucinating is real, does that make it real? No. Just because a narcissist feels that they are fully justified and they deserve to abuse whoever they want because of what they've gone through, does that make it right? No. We feel all kinds of things. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's right. You don't go enable somebody's delusion because you love them. You tell them the truth because you want to save their life. I'm sorry, but any of you who know God, when you actually meet God, you don't get to use reverse psychology on someone who actually knows God. It doesn't work that way. God loves all of you. Even homosexuals. Sin is sin. But when you come into Christ, you are made new. You have to be willing to be corrected. A lot of these people refuse to be corrected because it's their way and their way only and they're right and that's the only way. A lot of people accuse Christians of doing that, but because people are too thick in the skull to understand, we're following God's ways, not our own. God, who was not made up. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you scientists are going to have your entire complete and total delusional bubble completely busted and burned. Ooh, coming real soon. Real soon. A lot of scientists actually have enough intelligence and bravery within them to accept that they have not figured it all out. Of course they could be wrong. Any good scientist knows that they have not figured it all out and there's always more to learn. And that we did not create the universe. You will not control anything ever just because you think you understand it. Are you fucking joking? God is above all. I have met him face to face. He is completely holy. So when somebody is choosing to live in sin and do exactly what is against creation itself, and look at Sodom and Gomorrah. That is a perfect example of the kind of places homosexuality can take you in your mind. I will not in any way, shape, or form pretend that when you become in sexual overdrive in that way, that you can't go down that alley. No. No. Changing your identity, whatever it may be, it's not going to erase the pain within you, and it's not going to solve the problem. You should look into a lot of the stories of the people who went through sexual transitioning and they woke the fuck up and they wish they could go back, but they can never, ever, ever go back. The damage has been done. For women, the voice is deep. They look like a man for the rest of their life. They sound like a man for the rest of their life. For the men, their voice is high. They look like a woman for the rest of their life. It's permanent. You can't go back. You cannot go back. You cannot go back. You can't go back. It's like the mark of the beast. That's not the mark of the beast. But, for instance, with the mark of the beast, when you take it, damage is done. You cannot go back. Nobody talks about those stories to these people. Nobody talks about how there's a 96% suicide rate in the trans community. That's there for a reason, because it's a fucking mental illness. It is a delusion that's being made to look like it's okay. And if you don't enable their delusions, then apparently you're not loving enough. What the fucking fuck? Fuck that shit. I'm sick and tired of seeing so many people that I love delve into this delusion and accuse me of being unloving because I don't want to disrespect the God of the universe. That is shameful. And because they can't force me to do something that goes directly against his commands. My Father, who was there for me, not them. They didn't show up when I was on my knees begging somebody, please fucking kill me. They didn't show up. They were fucking nowhere. Nowhere. God was right there. So I'm going to listen to him. And a lot of you who think, I prayed to God all night. I prayed to God and I never heard anything. I'm willing to bet you this. You weren't listening hard enough. You were in a demand of an answer. And you weren't willing to be patient and quiet enough to truly listen. Or, you weren't approaching God with respect. You were just praying to him because you wanted something. It wasn't about you wanting the truth and wanting to figure this out and needing God's help through this. Because if you're not going down the right path in life, he's not going to obviously encourage you to keep going and help you to do it. What loving father? That's like a loving father who says, oh, you're a drug addict? Oh man, I'm so proud of you. I love you so much. Here's some heroin and some meth. Have a good time. And here's a pipe and here's a needle. Oh, I love you, babe. I love you. I'll always be here to always support your desires. I don't fucking think so. A lot of people will say, they'll come up with anything to go against the fact of this. Anything. But they won't even touch the fact that there's a 96% suicide rate in the trans community. They won't even touch the stories and what is actually being spoken and said by these people who went through transitioning and wished they could go back, and they don't even listen to what exactly they woke up to within themselves. They won't dare listen to that. They'll scream over you, they'll be obnoxious, they'll spit on you, spit at you, say fuck you, say yeah, I'm gay. They'll think it's hilarious. They'll sit there and if somebody talks about demons and while they're trying to preach to them, they'll be like, demons! They're fucking obnoxious. Not all of them. A lot of them react fucking obnoxious. What the fuck are you representing in real life for real, for real? Do you not see the shit that I see? What the fuck? If it was about love, if it was really about love, then that reaction would not be presented 90% of the time from 99.9% of the people who hear the word of God that have rejected it and want to demand that everyone accept that they are a man who became a woman. That's not fucking possible. You go ahead and show me a man who can shapeshift into a woman, then that's a fucking fallen angel for you. I'm sorry. And these people don't even realize that's what they're implicating and emulating. And anyone who says they emulate Christ, emulate means mimic, sweetheart. You can mimic something all day. It doesn't mean you're living by those standards and morals. A narcissist will mimic an empathic person all day long. Up, down, left, and right, all around. To lure in empathic people. To feed on. Because that's how they do it. They trick these people in the beginning. I've done my research. I was abused like a motherfucker. And the only thing that helped me was the research that showed there are trillions of people out there like me who were abused, and they stood up strong and they found God, and they have a fire in them that it will not be quenched. It cannot be quenched. Because this is a out of this world abuse. And God will use everything that is done against you for evil. God will use it for good. If the truth is what you want rather than demanding to be right, then you'll find the truth. If you're too busy demanding to be right and then accusing everyone else of doing exactly what you're doing, and if that's, then you're not going to find the truth. You're just going to find what you want to hear. Again, God was there for me. Not everybody in the LGBTQ community or whatever. Nobody on this fucking planet was there for me. But they want to talk about love when it comes to things like that, or situations where people like me end up in that situation. Where are they at? It's all about love when it's, justifying what they want, isn't it? But they forbid to admit that it's about love when it's justifying what God commands. Maranatha.